You know what? I was in a recording studio and somebody's phone went off while I was recording. And when you get into a stream of consciousness in someone's thing, it's like getting hit with a brick. So I said, honestly, you want to see a bad side of me, right? And so the phone went off and I was in a stream, because then you have to stop and you have to pick up the thread. And it's, you know what it's like? It's like being on the 20th floor of a building and all of a sudden having to be put on the ground and walking back up 20 floors. That's the only what I can compare it to. It's energetically having to get back up to that, and that's what it's like for me when I'm teaching. So the phone went off and I thought, don't lose it. And it was me. Lucky for them. So, I thought today I would like to do healing prayers at the end of the day. I asked you to focus on what you wanted to heal. And today we're going to focus on love, light, and law and the power of that and why it's so important. And that your body is your laboratory, and how to understand what the power of this is and why it's so powerful, and how to live within that sphere. And so I would like to end our day with that prayer for not just you, but for everybody on your internet, because you are so connected. I want you to start thinking of things as being connected on your internet. And so, got it? Okay. So this morning, and I'm also going to take a few minutes today, good morning everybody who's not in the room, to address the questions that are coming in from people who are observing, are watching, are taking this workshop from afar, but they have questions too. So I'm going to take a few minutes to address their questions. And now we're off and running. Isn't this place lovely? You know, I love teaching here. I love being here. I love this atmosphere in this place. And the staff is so kind. And I just can't say. Okay, off we go. Now we're going to start with, that your body is your laboratory. So I'm going to introduce you to bio-spiritual ecology, which I think will be the new theology, with any luck. That we are transitioning from this idea that there's an off-planet force to the reality, the higher truth, that that force is the actual life force of life that is in every one of our cell tissues, that is in the air, that is the force of life itself. That is the actual force of life. And if you look at every mystic's teaching, every great teacher, every great holy being, what they taught and this is, you know, it's funny that I would have a background in theology, in mystical theology, and then pop my lid as a intuitive in the medical world, only to find that I thought my spiritual life was my private life, only to find that in fact what I was learning from you in doing readings was that you were a living version of what I'd learned in mysticism. You were a living version of what I had learned. And by that I meant that all the teachings, from whether I looked at Buddha, or whether I looked at the Islamic mystical tradition of Sufi, or I looked at Rumi, the holy teachings of Hafiz, I looked at any great, when you get off the earth, when you get up here, and you get out of religion and into mysticism, or I looked at Pythagoras. What's up? I get to Pythagoras. I get to Aristotle or Plato. Get out of religion. Religion is politics. Connect that dot, especially fundamentalism. Garbage. When you get to the actual mystical jewels of each one, like I did in Anatomy of the Spirit, you see that the chakra system and the tree of life and the 7 levels of the musical scale, the 7 levels of the 7 mansions of the soul, I can just keep doing this now. That we are designed, we are one repetitive design. We are one, we continue to repeat the design of nature. That's all we do. Nature's not complicated. We continue to, it's almost like hiding in plain sight. The messages are in plain sight. Only some holy system could make it so beautiful and make it so repetitive. It is just the constancy of, and that this, our physical world is a system of 7, and then the meta world, the world of the impersonal, where nothing is designed for you. You have to figure out how to fit into the meta world. If you take this world personally, you can't get in. You won't get it. Which is why I'm convinced the whole journey of life is about dealing with the pain and disappointment that comes with trying to use your power to manipulate others, to destroy your own life, destroy your own body. Using this beautiful light in a destructive way, the love of power. What can it get for me? You're here so briefly, come on, what can it do? I'm jealous of that person, wasting your time on resentment, wasting your time on being bitter, wasting your precious life force on, you think I'll just, wasting your time, wasting your life, wasting it, versus I have but a precious few decades to channel this light and make a difference in this world. I have but a precious few decades to show what this light can do for this world. And all I'm doing is bitching about what happened in my childhood. Are you nuts? Get the proportions straight. What you can do. What you can do. So I have to start with what I realized was, as I was doing readings, what I realized was how incredibly powerful we are. And that the power that these great mystics and teachers came to teach was actually the truth. Was actually the truth. When Jesus said, you can do exactly what I'm doing if you get it. If you get it. But you just don't get it. But if you got it, you could do this. You could heal, you could command. Heaven would come to you as soon as you said, would you help me heal this person? In heaven's name, I heal you. It's got nothing to do with me. Everything. But you have to understand how to get out of your way. That this is not your world. And that the events that happen in this world are not geared to destroy you, though they may hurt. Though they may hurt. Though they may just be so destructive in your heart, they're not personal. They are as they must be. And they are the result so often of choices we make. If you overspend, you will destroy yourself financially. That is the consequence of your choices. That isn't a God hurting you. That's the law of cause and effect and action and reaction, and the law of stupidity. God does not, heaven does not compensate for stupidity. Ever. Or for jealousy. Or for bitterness. If you decide to sit on your tuchus and blame life and be bitter and decide, I'm not playing. That's it, I'm not playing. I'm unhappy with what's happened to me. I'm just unhappy, and therefore I'm going to punish everybody who comes down the road. That's your choice. But don't expect heaven to come there and say, we've sent you therapists. We sent, This is when heaven backs off and says, you want to do that. It's up to you. I promise you, heaven will not send anything, but they say, oh, what a stupid choice. And this is your angel will sit there and say, Jesus Christ, what a stupid choice. Honest to God, what a stupid choice. Because you just don't get it. And every single human being can be crushed by what they've been through in some way, shape, or form. Everyone. If I said to you, okay, for the next hour, compete with each other. Some of you I've already heard have had such brutal things, such sad things. And yet life just keeps on. You're going to pitch your tent at the wayside and said, that's it, I've had enough, I'm going to stop right here. Do you think that's a better choice? It's not a better choice. It's never going to be a better choice. It'll never, ever be a better choice. And then when you think, well, enough. So, I need to make a couple of points. I'm not sure they're going to be in coherent order because it's now like teaching in a hologram, and I'll do my best to tie it together. In this physical world, the challenges we have are resolved in the physical world with physical things, with physicalnesses. That's a new word. With chemicals, with earth logic, not mystical resolution, with earth logic. And you're accustomed to that, okay? So if you have a problem here, what did I mean by that? If you have a problem here, then you go to, if I need a screwdriver to open this window, I need a screwdriver. I can't go zzz and it'll open, right? Okay, so this is kind of that world. The mystical world, the world of light, law, and love, is a different domain. It's a different domain entirely. This is the domain where creation begins. So this is the caboose on the train, and this is more like the engine. This is more like the beginning of the playground. This is more where substance begins. And I like to think of it like the way it is misty. And mist has all kinds of possibilities. And the mist becomes rain, and rain becomes ice and solidifies. But it's all the same substance. But when it's mist, when it's really just sweet air, you can't see it. And yet it's as real as the ice you can hold in your hand. It is subject to the same laws of science. It is as real, and it is full of the same molecules. It's just that those molecules have not solidified. And this is how I want you to understand light. That light is filled with the molecules that will eventually form and solidify into the physical choices you make. These are your creative molecules. Light is the life force, the substance of creation. And how I really got this was in doing readings. I was tracking where, yesterday I was talking to you, where you hemorrhage your power. So light is also your power. And you just don't think much of it, but you should think only about it. That's all you should think about. Is that every single thing you do, everything you say, everything you think, every word you have in your vocabulary is in fact a calculation of power that will cost you. A negative word up here is very expensive. Very expensive. You have no idea. If you have a word in there that causes you to see the world like anything anything that activates self-pity, you may as well take a knife and go in your energy system, because you are hemorrhaging and you will just whoosh. And so for me, when I began this job as a medical intuitive, I cannot emphasize enough how much I did not know and now how much I know. But this was a whole journey of learning something I did not even know existed, which is the nature of us. I had no idea how beautiful, incredible, and complicated and wonderful in everything that we are, but mostly how powerful, and mostly how much that powerful is powerful on the micro. So we have entered the era of our micro selves, our quantum selves, our nuclear selves. Now, in doing readings, when I started out great big huge, looking for great big huge things, big huge diseases. I started out looking for the obvious because I had to learn the craft. It wasn't until I was really good at saying with my beloved Norm, this person's got cancer coming in. He knew it because he had the tests. He could validate. But eventually, after I got so good at that, I was confident enough to start ascending in my own skill, trusting my own skill, thinking, you know what, Norm, I think an illness is coming in. It's not yet physical. And this got dicey for Norm and me. And I said to him one time, this man came and saw Norm and said, not well. And I said, he's got pancreas cancer. And he said, I tested him for that. I said, I'm telling you, that's what he's reading, pancreas. And he was diagnosed with full pancreatic, third stage pancreatic cancer, and 2 weeks later. So that's when Norm said to me, we have to talk. Yeah. He said, you've got some kind of skill here. So at that point, it's like you open your lens. You open your lens to the reality that you can sense when you are screwing with your realm of possibility and probability. That this is a very real realm of creation. Now, what I know to be now I've always recoiled when someone said I was gifted. I am not gifted. I am not. I am very skilled, and I understand my skill. And I understand that what makes me as skilled as I am is one, my trust in my inner world, which I know comes out of my faith and my self-confidence in the non-physical world, and that sacred trust. I know that. I know that. I know that. I also know that I have always trusted my inner system. And so I'm going to talk to you about building that trust, because it's essential. It's essential. But you have got to get out of the idea of the BS that there's any such thing as being gifted. That is garbage. Otherwise, all the beautiful teachings you and everyone else can do this would be false, and they are not. Everything has to do with your capacity. Why has these last decades emphasized the development of your self-esteem? Why? Why has it been so important that all of a sudden, out of the blue, we've become the generations where, for some reason, we're compelled to develop the self? Where did that come from? Why? Why has developing the self and becoming aware of your inner self as though you're possessed by an internal other self become so vital to you? How come people speak like this? Well, I got it on the inner. What the hell are you talking about? But what you're developing is the capacity to speak a different level of truth. You're coming to know the difference between what is true and what is truth, and you're terrified to speak the truth. Oh no, what if I say the truth? So you have a new personality that you've allowed to speak the truth because you are presenting it as though you're being guided by God. So therefore, it's got to be accepted, and you're not quite, see, God's talking to me. I got it on the inner. It's just garbage that way. It is your baby self-esteem coming through. And instead of saying, this is myself at a deeper level, you know what, this is my empowered self. I need to just say this. No. Or yes. Or I really lied to you. I just lied to you and I'm going to own it. Instead of pulling in the heavens and saying, I got it on the inner. How many people have said, I've got on the inner that I should work with you? And I'll say, well, as soon as I get that on the inner, I'll call you. Right? But my point here is that this ubiquitous evolutionary leap, this hybrid ego we call the inner self, is all about our developing this sense of our inner power and giving voice to it. It speaks. We've developed we are wiring its nerve endings to our ego so that we have a sense of how powerful it is. It's kind of the intermediary between our ordinary ego and our higher self or our soul, the entrance to it. And it's saying, manage your power. Your life force is the only valuable thing you have on earth. You are not held accountable for how much you buy, but why you bought it. You are not held accountable for what you did, but why you did it. Why? You are held accountable for your motives, for why you do, because that is what, there are no secrets in the universe, as you are going to discover. In the energetic world, all is transparent. Everything is known. Every single choice you make, why you're doing it, so you can deny your motives, for example, even to yourselves, but it's a laugh. Because the truth is always known, which is why all the great teachers have always said the truth will set you free, so stop it. Can you imagine how much trouble certain people are in right now, Jesus? But I shudder to think. But, so, in doing readings, what I discovered is that every single choice someone makes has an energetic consequence. It is astounding. And that in the beginning I thought that because everybody always wanted to talk about their big traumatic memories. As though it was the big traumatic memories that weighed most heavily on what's happening to you, but it's never. It's never your big traumas. Never. So get that. Clearly understand that. If your house burns down, it is not that you can't recover from, ever. It's the response you expected to have of everybody around you that you can't get over. If someone said, oh, this is no big deal, get on with your life. It is the small little innuendos. It's the lack of immediate support. It's your disappointed expectations that you were counting on in that moment because of what happened to you. Someone could say to you, I don't know, reject you, or I don't know what, some kind of trauma. I don't know what. I mean, abuse, rape. But the real trauma was, how do I handle this alone? Who can I talk to? What if they said, this is no big deal? Get over it. That's the trauma. That's the trauma that hits you and buckles your knee, far more than a monster jumping on your body. Ladies? Okay? It is that. It is when someone looks at you and says, gird your loins, grip, be quiet. Do not acknowledge this. A monster jumping on your body is maybe something, but what you cannot get over is when you're told you don't matter enough, and that doesn't matter enough. That's the injury. Are we in agreement here? Okay. So what I discovered was it was actually the wounds of this world more than what is done to our body. More than what is done to our body. Our body may take a blow here and a blow there. But it's how we handle those blows, what is said to us, how we cannot find a sacred witness. Can you just listen to me. Just listen. You don't want someone to say, "Whoa, God, Jesus Christ, how did that, da, 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 da." You want someone to say, "Tell me what happened to you. I will listen to your story. I can contain it in me." What I have learned through my skill is that why I'm good, I'm impersonal. Not uncaring. I care enormously. But it's not my role to make your life better, to apologize for all the things you wish had happened. That's not my journey. I can't explain why God set up the pieces of your life as God did. That's not my role. I'm very impersonal, not uncaring. I'm detached in the way Buddha said be detached. I'm very detached in the way Yahweh spoke to Job. Where were you when I created the foundations of this universe? I don't remember consulting you. I don't remember asking you, Job, where I should hang the planets or end the seas and start the oceans and bring the shore. Where were you? Because I don't remember consulting you when I decided, so don't you dare question me. Justice is mine. I have even ordered that world perfectly, like I have hung the stars and the sun. It is perfectly ordered. Don't think your little pissant mind is capable of understanding how this works itself out. Know your place. You're nothing but a grain of sand in a universe far vaster than you will ever know. So don't you dare ask me how things work out. Bam! Does that hit the spot? All you get to do is say, help me. Help me. I'm in a bit of a jam. I'm not liking what I'm going through here. I'm in a storm. It's a badass storm. I wish I knew why I was in the storm, but I don't even have the right to do that. All I know is if this is what you've given me, if this is my task, if this is my contract, so be it. Get me through this. Don't help me not to be a weak person, because this isn't going to change. So crying about it, screaming about it, whining about it is not going to help me. I will hemorrhage. I will hemorrhage to death. I have got to get up to this altitude. You've got to get up to the light, love, altitude, because it's at that altitude that the things that cannot happen at this altitude can happen. Okay? What cannot happen here can happen here. Why? Because you're going back to the altitude of where what an ordinary mortal calls a miracle happens. What an ordinary mortal. So I'm going to explain this slower, in slow speed, and you're going to get it. And it's going to go into you like, oh my God, where's this been all my life? This is holy nectar. It's holy nectar. Do you think I live in this world for nothing? Okay. But I'm taking you there into yourselves at the speed you got to go, because you got to get it. You got to get it. You don't get the goodies without getting it. You have got to get how you hemorrhage. You got to get that hemorrhaging costs you. But here's what I got. And that's that every time I would do a calculation and figure out how fast you're losing power and why, it had a consequence on the, what I would call, density of your body. The density, that there was a direct correlation between how dense your psychic field was. A relationship between actual matter and light. And that's all I could say to myself. There was a relationship between the matter and the light. And the way I now would explain it to you is what I, and. I then added the laws of the universe, synchronicity, action and reaction, coincidence, the use of energy medicine. And what I began, it took me years to get this, what I began to realize is that the more you are hemorrhaging, the less effective any energy medicine will ever be on you. You require all the chemical medicine and all the chemical assistance you can have. Visualization will have minimal effect. Any skills from the energetic world, any Kairos skills, as much as you can utilize them, I think I'll do visual, you will be distracted and it won't work. You can't be a meditator because your mind will just float. You can't keep attention. You will be distracted by the slightest sound in the room, if you can keep your attention at all from falling asleep. Because you're so dense. You have so much density in you. You just, everything puts you to sleep. For you, synchronicity rarely happens. Because for you, when someone gives you an idea or you have a thought is a magnetic life thing. A thought is alive. Down here, no one, if you're on the first floor, you don't comprehend that. Because for you, what's alive is something you have to see. A human body, a goldfish. It's impossible for someone in the first floor who's a five-sensory creature to comprehend that a thought form is more powerful. It's impossible for a creature on the first floor who believes weaponry, that if you can hear a weapon, you're an amateur. True weaponry is silent, like a stealth bomber. It's psychic force. It's the weaponry of light. And if you're one of these thugs who think the only way to control people at the voting booth is get in there with a gun, you're a thug. The only thing they've got is five-sensory threat. They actually don't get that you can forcibly change the atmosphere at a distance. Doesn't make sense. But it wouldn't make sense to anybody unless you can sense that field and can actually feel it. Can actually feel it. This is where I realized what's actually happening to us is we are all on the journey of going from the Kairos world of hour-to-hour time for the Chronos to the Kairos. We are all making that journey from hour-to-hour perception to the speed of light. We are all somewhere on this scale. And it is on that scale that we are actually changing, each of us subjectively in our own world. We're changing our relationship to how the laws of the universe and creation are working within us. How fast synchronicity works for each of you. How fast healing works for each of you. How fast cause and effect, action and reaction. How fast any of that. What about healing? And what can be healed? What can be healed? How fast all of that works. How, and that's not the right word. How, I'm just going to say how. Whether it works at the speed of light or at the speed of matter. So here's an example. Someone walks in the house and says, I have a feeling something's wrong with Lauren. So Lauren's my best friend. Lauren, I think I don't want anything to be wrong. But I get this intuitive feeling something's wrong. But I don't want to. So I instantly, what do? I get this intuitive, here, watch, download, intuitive feeling, something's wrong. But I immediately say, I don't want that to be the truth. So automatically, I'm twisting my intuitive system. Automatically, I want to jam the circuits because I don't want that to be the truth. So now what I do when it gets to this area, my sixth, I have to create a different narrative that combats what my intuitive system is telling me. Oh no, something's not wrong. No, I think I know what. She ate at the wrong place. She's having a gastrointestinal day. I make up something that suits me. Not what's really going on, it suits me. So I can live with it. Because all of us are great storytellers. If we don't know the truth, we'll make something up. That's what makes us so good at gossip. I'm sure this is what's really going on. All right. Then we drop it to the fifth chakra, where we start telling ourselves this narrative. I'll tell you what's on. She ate the wrong thing. I just know it. I know it. I know it. Oftentimes at this point, we'll reach out to an ordinary mortal who's another friend and tell the narrative to get validation. Because all our false narratives require validation. So I'll call Janice and I'll say, don't you think she ate something wrong? And if she says no, I hang up on her. I'm like, what do you know? So then I'll go to Lynn. And I'll say, Lynn, you will agree. And I'll say, Lynn, before this conversation gets going, I expect you to agree with me. Okay, but this is archetypal. This is archetypal. When you are making up a false narrative, you will go and you'll find someone who will agree with you. Because you need that. Because a false narrative always needs someone, or, as you'll notice in the United States, a crowd. It always needs, because truth can stand alone, but lies can't. So you always have to reinforce. Isn't this the truth? Well, I guess so. That's right. There you go. That's it. And you get the false narrative. Now, here's what happens in you, in your bio-spiritual ecology. When you start swallowing something you know is not the truth, you go into spiritual indigestion. And you really start screwing with your bio-spiritual ecology, which includes the whole management of how you relate to the laws of creation. To the laws of creation. I can't begin to tell you, though I'm going to attempt to, what a big deal this is. Because it influences all your working relationship with all the laws, cause and effect, magnetic attraction, the law of balance, the law of choice, your intuitive system. Now you're no longer clear. You're no longer clear. You're no longer clear. You don't want the truth. You have decided, no, I want to jam my system. I don't want the truth. I have to maintain my illusion, Buddha, my illusion that Lauren has been eating bad things. So now you have an agenda with the universe that is different than the agenda the universe has with you. Are you with me? Yeah. Okay. So now, what are you going to do when it comes time for prayer and guidance? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You've set up a false altar. You've set up a false God. You've set up a God that you want to only hear certain things from because you now have stated your case. This is what I want. This is the reality I want. I don't want what's real. I don't want the truth. I want this story maintained by all the events that now happen to me, all the conversations that now happen to me. I only want people to speak to me, not you, but you, who will validate. Now set up my world accordingly, which includes the laws of cause and effect, who I run into, who talks to me. Do you understand? This is the power of the lie. This is what happens when you swallow something that is, when you make up a false narrative in your head, is a lie. Let's just call it what it is. And you distort your own extraordinary intuitive system. How does heaven work with you? You are wired 24/7 for constant guidance. Constant. It is not sporadic. It is not like, oh my God, I think I had a piece of guidance. It is nonstop. It is within every breath. It is as ordinary. It's organic. This is divine organics. It is organic. Every breath you take, there's guidance in. Every breath you walk, should I eat this? Da, 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 da. Everything. If this is why I'm saying, why I asked you yesterday, where in your body do you feel the loss of power? Where in your body do you feel calm? Even that is the universe saying, shh, all is well. Every single breath is a message. You are constantly breathing God. You are walking through God. All of this. Do you think this atmosphere is empty? Are you nuts? Are you blind? You are blind. And if I could snap my fingers and get you out of your body, you would be in a field of light. And that light is alive. And it's up to you to decide whether that light becomes a creative ally or not. Or whether you're afraid of the power of this light you are breathing all the time. I love the prayer, show off. Show off. We're just dealing with ordinary mortals. Do something outrageous. Okay? Now, the more readings I did, the more I realized that the choices you make lower your life force, your light force. And when your light is dim, so too are the laws. Now, pay attention. When your system, come over here. When your system diminishes and you are seriously hemorrhaging, okay, so we're here. You're seriously hemorrhaging and you're making choices. You will start borrowing energy. Now, I'm going to add something here. What's the difference between fate and destiny in your life? What's the difference? You need your energy to energize certain choices. I'll give you an example. I need to heal something. I need to heal something that the ordinary world says is unhealable. What did you learn from all the great healers? Whoosh, nothing's unhealable. Nothing is unhealable. In fact, the dead can rise, so to speak. But that's a kairos matter, not ordinary stuff. Not ordinary. None of your whimpering, none of your crying, none of your battering, beating up pillows with rubber hoses is going to get you to here. None of that stuff. No self-pity, no, oh my God, this shouldn't have happened to me. I don't want to, la 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 la. That's my response. You want to get here, it is a tough, empowered hall. It is pure light. And so what I've learned is you don't have enough light to make the journey. And so what happens is people don't even get it. They start plugging themselves in to other people's light sources or just the general psychic free radicals in the atmosphere. Now this is a big, great, big, huge thing to understand. It is great, big, huge. We generate psychic free radicals. Our individual body and the micro and macro. So all of our loose, thoughtless, careless, unconscious thoughts like this is crap and da-da-da-da, look at that person, da-da, all the negative stuff, my day is whatever. And believe me, we're not supposed to, we can't possibly all be like, I just want light-filled thoughts all day. It's nonsense. That's nonsense. But I oftentimes will say the prayer, don't let me do any harm today. And if I'm about to do big time harm, stop me, remind me, make me conscious of something. Don't let me do any harm. You know, little harm, but big, no. No. And so I have a constant prayer, don't let me do any big harm today. Nothing. Keep me mindful, at least, of that. So that you gradually become mindful. You gradually become mindful. I know better than this. I know better than this. I can do better in this moment. You start taking your life by hours and then eventually by minutes. But it becomes a lifestyle. I can do better than this. And pretty soon you simply live at the better. And becoming light becomes effortless. So you know when you're slipping. Okay? But when you are running low, like any system of energy, people will, energetic systems, I want you to just be neutral here. I want you to be impersonal. Empty systems will look for fillers. Are you with me? You'll just look for fillers. And psychic free radicals, all these loose thoughts, what is the law of energy? Energy becomes matter. Matter goes back to energy. It's the law. So all these energetic free radicals are always trying to find systems through which they can incarnate into stuff. They'll come out through choices. So now, Janice is running low. Lauren's running low. These psychic free radicals operate on what? The law of magnetic attraction. You're running low, they're running low. What vibrational field are they? Negative to negative. Lead to lead. The lead comes in and it just pours in. You sitting at yourself, sitting at a desk, like, God, I feel so heavy. I'm so depressed. I can't, but it's not really your depression, is it? It's collective atmospheric depression. In fact, you're in a spiritual crisis. You're in an atmospheric cosmic depression. You're not even in a personal one anymore. But who recognizes that? We are in this place where we should be diagnosing ourselves accurately, but we're not. This is an atmospheric depression. I think this is what so many of our kids are going through. They have not been raised to understand that they have a soul. They're spiritual loose cannons. They're growing up with violent video games. So what they think is life is this violent, they're practicing killing before they're even 9 years old, and they think that's entertainment. And their parents want that so they can be distracted, so they don't have to attend to them. And you think that's, how many of these kids who turned out to be killers in school said, I thought they were going to get up, I thought this was a game. They can't even tell, a lot of them can't even tell the difference. And they thought killing was a game, I'm just going to go kill them because it's, I'm just going to shoot them. And they're all neglected because the parents don't have time for them. Okay. So you will, and here comes fate and destiny. When your system has energetics functioning in it that are, shall we say, carelessly collected because you are not managing your choices, then what's created in your life is not your you are incapable of making choices that are aligned with your destiny, and fate takes over. And how that feels like is you will say, I don't really care what happens. I don't really give a damn anymore. I just don't care. So you throw things to the fates. I don't really care. Doesn't matter to me. I'm exhausted. I don't care. Just do what you want, will you? Just do what you want. Because lifting your own life into the higher altitude, saying, I'm sorry, but I am choosing, I don't know what's out there, but I'm not going that way. Destiny takes power. Destiny takes power because you're carving a path you have not walked before. Fate is a path that's already destroyed part of you. But that's what happens when you're like, I've just had enough. All right. So are you with me? Yeah. All right. And so yesterday when I seemed to emphasize what you may have thought was silly, are you turning off your switches? Pay attention to when you're hemorrhaging. Everything has to do with you getting, power is my ingredient. This is my ingredient. If I am hemorrhaging power, I'm a sitting duck for power that's not mine coming into my system, unless I pray for a field of grace. We'll get to that later. Protect me from out. I am always praying to stay in a field of protection. And since the beginning, when people prayed for that, that's what they were praying for, protection from energetics that didn't belong to them. Okay? And why? Because this is one huge soul. All life breathes together. You are not separate from, as energetic beings, we are not separate from each other. That is the greatest illusion. We have little containers we fit in. And this is why understanding how this universe works personally, intimately, and impersonally is so vital.